be talking about foreign trade. And since we know that India or be it any part of the world, we have been engaged in the trade since ancient times. We have developed commercial centers like Harappan cultures, Mohenjo-daro, where we used to have those Mesopotamian, we used to have trade for our silk, for sugar, for jute, for tea. So trade is there, which is you can call the lifeline of an economy and which stimulates the economic growth. So foreign trade is one aspect which is being, the major area of thrust. And when it comes to discussion about foreign trade with a specific focus in India, then it is basically promoted and facilitated by the Directorate General of Foreign Trade, which is DGFT, under the Ministry of Commerce and Industry. So DGFT is basically one such apex body that implements all the foreign trade policy of India. And we all know that what is the relevance, what is the significance of foreign trade is there. It is just like, as I mentioned, that it is a basic support line. And imagine if we are not going to trade with the other parts of the world, if we are not having trade in place, then the very survival of a nation is not possible. Even during the pandemic time, everything was put up into that halted stage. It was in limbo. But trade is one thing that kept on moving, that cannot be stopped even for a fraction of a second, right? So that is why discussing about the foreign trade, its relevance, its significance is very crucial. So foreign trade, DGFT, as I mentioned, is the apex body. So what does it do? It over the time period brings up with the foreign trade policies and which are effective for a period of 5 years. Now, when we talk about this COVID period, into that particular period, the policy was extended for a little longer period. It was implemented in 2015 and has to be effective till 2020, but because of COVID, it went up till 2022, right. So, foreign trade policies are majorly those prime policies which mentions out, lays down the simple and transparent procedures which are very easier to comply with, and basically they are being administered for efficient management of foreign trade in India. Now, if we go for some of the guesstimates which were given by the quick estimates, India's merchandise exports in May 2024 was USD 38,132 million as compared to the previous one, which is USD 34,952. So that mentions a very positive growth of 9.09%. So when we talk about this foreign trade policies, its relevance is always been there. Its growth is increasing, and when we are talking with respect to a specific case of India, we are really doing good over the period. And specifically in the last 1 decade, we have shown exponential growth, right. So when we say what being the very relevance of foreign trade and can we limit them into some 5-6 pointers, the answer is no, because foreign trade is there in each and every sector, in each and every sphere. Whatever class of goods or services we talk about, you would find the very presence of foreign trade. So when we say that, okay, what being the relevance of this foreign trade, so we categorize them as, let's say, the first very pointer or the first very benefit that is going to occur or that describes the importance of foreign trade is the optimum utilization of resources of a nation. Now, when we say optimum utilization of resources, by that we mean that let's suppose India is self-sufficient in production of some food grains, right. Now, it is having surplus production of that particular food grain A. So, if that food grain A is in surplus and if we will export it to some other nation in need, it will generate additional revenue for the nation, plus it will help prevent the spoilage of the food grains, plus it will bring in the optimum utilization of resources, right. So that is why we say that it makes best of the utilization of the available resources, and then you gain in an opportunity to trade in the competitive market in the world, right. And plus when we say that foreign trade, so it also brings in economies of large scale production. So if you are privileged where there is natural abundance of some sort of goods, or some food grains or crops, so that abundance due to climatic conditions, geographic conditions will help you produce the that give you the benefit of large scale productions, and due to that large scale productions you will be having the economies of scale, which means the very food grain that you are producing in your nation, and because of the climatic conditions that food grain is in surplus. So due to greater production, due to large scale production, the price that you are going to offer in the international markets will be very competitive. It will be as compared to other nations a little cheaper one, with the best of the quality that being offered. So that is why we say that it brings in the economies of large scale production. Similarly, let us suppose any other nation who is privileged in production of certain category of fruits, vegetables or food grains. So if they have that economies of large scale production, you will get the same set of your food grains at comparatively a lower cost. So that is why we say that there is economies of large scale production. Now, then it says it makes sure that the necessary inputs that you require for industrialization also, so those are easily available. So India has been primarily an agrarian economy. Predominantly we have been an agrarian economy where our entire focus is on to the agriculture. There was a period during which we were corely focused on to the agricultural activities. Then come the industrial revolution, right, and over the time period in early 1000 our shift towards the tertiary activities also rise. So point is that do we had the appropriate resources for the industrialization, right. So in that case, this through this foreign trade it help us import best of the machineries, equipments, capital goods from other parts of the world, and then it will help us create that infra, create that inputs which are required to regulate the industrialization or to help us in the manufacturing process. Another thing is that when there is, due to globalization of course, where you are integrating with more economy and greater parts of the world, and there being lifting of quotas or licensing or permitted rules and regulations, so you have a better you could say space to play into. So that leads to what? That leads to dilution of the monopoly power. No world, no country can say for that they being the monopoly power for, let us suppose, any XYZ product. If there being foreign trade, nobody can enjoy that monopoly power, rather there will be dilution, because due to foreign trade there will be import and export, right. So that ways we can see that it leads to dilution of your monopoly power. Further, we say that when we have surplus production, as we say in the first pointer also, that there being optimum utilization of resources and it being a very outlet for surplus production. So if we are producing something which is excess in number, it will provide us with an opportunity to trade our goods in the international market and get best of the prices in that international market, right. Then it is one of the way to earn the foreign exchanges. When we say that we are exporting the surplus of the resources or the production units to some other nation, we are generating some revenue for us, and that revenue is generated in terms of your foreign exchange, right. So that ways we can say that apart from just doing one or two providing benefits to a particular nation. Rather, it is a comprehensive structure which creates an enabling environment, which creates an ecosystem wherein you have best of the resources available at your disposal, you have the best of the technologies, you can easily create an outlet for your surplus productions, you can generate the revenues, you can take the benefits out of large scale productions. So, that is why we say foreign trade is present everywhere. It's very crucial and it cannot be halted even for a fraction of second, right. So, foreign trade helps in stimulating the growth. It ensures that it leads to creation of job opportunities. Now, how job opportunities? See, if any farmer who is producing a good which is very scarce in its nature, or which will help him out fetch a better price in the international market. So, due to this thing, it will help him provide a better opportunity, right, and it will also help in creating the job opportunities, as we can see that there being the role of intermediators, there being the role of agents, right. So, everybody those jobs will be created up, that will lead to widening up this job opportunities ka this dimension. And moreover, if more jobs are created, you will get the better revenues, you will have a better opportunity to serve the international markets, you are better to trade in, it will help you reduce the poverty, it will help you reduce the any other problems that being associated with fetching a lower price into the market. So, not just the poverty that will be reduced, it will help you create the other various opportunities, right, which will help you that this stimulation of trade will help you promote the economic development, because how it is generating revenues for the government, and it will help the country to even deal with such situations which are as such a natural calamities. Let it be the situation of droughts, floods. So, one can resort through these import of food grains in that particular situations. Even at the time of COVID, right, as I mentioned, the trade was not stopped even for a fraction of second, which help us run all these activities of import and export, and wherein we can import all the necessary things which otherwise were not available in India, or vice versa, the other parts of the world who were in dire need of resources or food grains or consumer goods or medicines, we were able to export to those part of the world. So, that is why it helps us stimulate the growth, it helps us promote the economic development, because we know that multiplier effect, that there being accumulation of capital which will lead to more of savings, which will have an investment impact, which will lead to more of your economic growth and will ultimately lead to economic development in a nation, right. Now, when we say about foreign trade is not something which is a present day concept, rather it is there in existence since ancient times. We used to trade in silk, we used to trade in sugar, we used to trade in cotton, we used to send these spices to the west market through that spices route, right. We used to trade in silk also. So, trade has always been there, but over the time period after the partition, there have been major developments. Once we have attained the independence, there were few 5-year plans that were there in position, they were in place. So, with every 5-year plan, there was something new to the basket. So, we were trading in more set of goods, there was product diversification, there was market diversification. So, that is why we say that foreign trade, it occupies a place of strategic importance in India's economic development, and basically it is the lifeline of the Indian economy. So, the first 5-year plan that was implemented, it actually ushered with a very happy beginning. हमारे फर्स्ट 5-year प्लान में we had the export earnings during this first 5-year plan of 1951. We had the export earnings worth 1106 crores. That was a great amount at that point of time. So that is why we say that we started with a very happy beginning, and the average annual exports, it increased to 977 crores during this second plan. So this is the average number by which we were actually growing up. So if we put it out differently, the exports, they were ranging in between 813 crores to 1106 crores per year during the first 5-year plan. And during the second 5-year plan, the range was somehow comparatively lesser because of various factors which we will be discussing one by one. So during the second 5-year plan, the exports, that they range between 903 crores to 997 crores. Now when we say that this being the average range, right, so that means over the time period, be it your first 5-year plan or second 5-year plan, there have been some developments, there have been some strategic policy decisions that impacted our imports, that impacted our exports, that impacted our policies, right. So these social and political goals, when we are projecting for India's image, whether domestically or internationally, so as to know about its its image or its establishment in the international market, it becomes a very important concern of the government. Government was very concerned about how well are we doing when it comes to the international market. So in the very first phase of that reconstruction, foreign trade policy was not the primary focus. When we say not the primary focus, reason being there were other concerns, there were other issues that required our urgent attention. So that is why during that first 2 5-year plans, we were not that much focused towards the foreign trade. That much focus means that it was not a primary concern. It was a concern but not a primary focus, right. We used to export into those traditional items that were being traded by the British rulers, right. We used to import for those traditional things that they used to import. So the consistency was maintained. We are not bringing any further policies. We are not coming up with, let us say, let us try experimenting with some other set of goods. We were doing as it is. We were maintaining that rhythm. So it was only during our third 5-year plan that a very coherent policy was prepared, an economic policy which started giving relevance to the foreign trade. So that we can see that during that third 5-year plan, the impact of policies were such that because of the rolling out of those policies, we started yielding the dividends in the subsequent plans that came after, be your fourth 5-year plan or so on. And initially our core focus into trade was, we were particularly trading in tea, we were trading in jute, we were trading in textiles, we were trading in spices, cotton, tobacco, coffee. So these were the primary items during first to 5-year plans which had the core predominance, right. So the predominance of agricultural products was there in the first 2 5-year plans, right. Though over the time period there has been a change, but primarily these were the things, and out of these things we had some specific items that accounted for almost 50% of the exports, and those were your tea, jute and textiles. And when we talk about imports now, so at that period of time, we had for the import segmentation, machinery and equipments, we had textile fiber, we had some non-ferrous metals, we had petroleum and petroleum products. So you can see that what being the major items of exports and what being the major items of imports. So for imports, since we were not, that much you could say capable of producing our own machinery or equipments at that point of time, right? Now there being a 360-degree change into the composition of trade, right? Now we have a lot of product that's being added to our composition of trade. So the three items initially were the jute textiles, and for imports it was machinery, it was non-ferrous metals, it was iron and steel, textiles, petroleum and petroleum products, right. So that indicates our directional pattern, and majorly we were trading with the EFTA regions. That means हमारा 29% of trade we are dealing only with the EFTA regions, and where in Britain it accounted for 27% of the share, right. And the second largest partner was your escape with 26% of your share in the market. So you can see that we were specifically focused on to EFTA regions, we were focused on to escape part, we were focused on to Britain market. These were the primary regions of our trade. Thereafter, if we specifically talk about industrialized specific countries wherein we were dealing up with your New Zealand, Australia, Japan, which had your 4 to 5% share each, right. So that was the directional pattern of your trade, wherein certain markets were only the ones that we were trading up with. There were certain category of products that we were dealing up with. So this is the scenario for your first 5-year plan and your second 5-year plan. Now, what went right in the third 5-year plan, or what was there in the third 5-year plan? We had a lot of policies. We had, n number of incentive schemes for in our third 5-year plan that actually help us deviate from the regular one. So there were various incentive schemes as your cash compensatory support, there were duty drawbacks, there were replenishment licensing, there was supply of export credit at concessional rates and freight subsidies that were applicable. And those applicable things were, most of the things that were there into the place, they were being repealed by the government. So the government has taken some steps during this third 5-year plan. But there were some, economic situations also. Economic situations like there was drought in the economy, there was devaluation of Indian rupee, right. And then too we have withdrawn all the export incentive schemes because we were happy, okay, we were doing good, we were ushering with the happy beginnings of greater amount of exports amounting to 1106 crores. So our focus was like, okay, these being our categorization of goods that we are dealing up with, and for imports and exports respectively. So we withdrawn certain incentives that were provided to the people. We withdrawn all the cash incentives, we have withdrawn all the duty drawback schemes, we have led to withdrawal of export incentive schemes. So all those three things, all those schemes, they were withdrawn. And plus we have a national situation of drought. We have an economical situation of wherein our rupee was devalued in the foreign market. So they had a major impact on our exports, major impact, which we will be observing in the second segment.